Wow. I don't know that I've seen this place this full before, but it looks like Pidge, you have tremendous supporters, and that's usually what we want for our featured artists to bring in. We might almost be breaking a fire code, but I'm so glad that you all joined us. So welcome to the Poetry Den, where words once written on the page are now performed on stage, and solidarity extends between poets and friends. Please give yourselves a round of applause for being here. And thank you to all of you that are joining us online. My name is Pam Blair. I'm the founder and the host of the Poetry Den. We've been in existence for almost 13 years in June. And in this place, probably about 9 or 10 years now. And usually how this works is we start off with an open mic, and then we present our magnificent featured artists for you to enjoy. So I'm glad that you all are here. Thank you for coming. I know, can I see a show of hands of the people that have, this is their first time in this building? Lots, yes. So one thing that that I'm most proud of is being in this space. The IUSB Civil Rights Heritage Center has opened it to us to be here. They don't charge me any money. We don't charge you any money. And so it's just a wonderful space to be. I'd love for George, who is the curator here, to come and share with you about this space and what it used to be. I don't know if any of you knew what it used to be. It used to be called the Natatorium, but it's called the Civil Rights Heritage Center. But he has about 50 different ways to talk about this because I asked him to do it so much. But I'm going to ask him to come and share. Can you give him a round of applause?
And thank you, appreciate that opening, appreciate you all for being here for the first time. Definitely hope it's not the last, right? This may be the first experience here, but that you come back over and over to continue your own understanding, your own knowledge, to deepen and expand what you may have already learned and what may yet need to learn about open and honest history. To be quite frank, we are in a period where we are seeing just the ability to share with honesty and integrity what has actually happened in the history of the United States, in the history of Indiana, in the history of South Bend. We're seeing that under attack. And we are seeing people who are saying that to be able to hold an honest conversation can't happen, that the law is being used in order to try to censor people from that. We are seeing this here in Indiana. We're seeing this here in other states as well. We're seeing this in our universities. We're seeing this in our K through 12 classrooms. I reject that, right? I believe wholeheartedly that it is the openness and honesty with which we approach this that is the necessary first step in order to get to the next steps, which is true equality among people. Because this building represents a time where that wasn't true. You're actually in the former girls' changing room of the city of South Bend's first indoor municipal swimming pool. And I know it's a little hard to imagine considering how we've transformed the space, but what's on our left there used to just be, rows of restrooms and little changing spots. If you have a chance in the back, there's some great photos of the way the building used to look, and you can compare that to the way that the building is now. But for so many, they would approach this space and not think twice about being able to come in, walk under that word public natatorium, and be able to use it. The problem was how that word public was applied. Was it applied narrowly or was it applied broadly? And it was applied narrowly because from 1922 to 1936, African-American people were denied entry here, period. And beginning in 1936, it began segregating by day. But they called it a public pool, right? How does that happen? How does one portion of the public get to tell another portion how they are or are not under that definition of the word public? Do we define it narrowly or do we define it broadly? How did we define it in 1922 here? And how do we define it in 2025 now? And I don't think I need to tell you there's a lot of people who are pushing real hard to narrow that definition. And again, I reject that, right? What we do in this space, in a completely transformed space, is look at how, yeah, it's maybe easy, relatively speaking, to transform a building, right? Construction workers and some concrete and some new wiring and technology, but we could transform a building. But it's a lot harder to transform our society. And we are still in the midst of trying to do that, right? What we do now, though, in this transformed space is to bring as many different people together to hold those conversations, to think about the difference between a narrow and a broad definition, to recognize what bringing people in versus pushing people out means, to look honestly at history and to look honestly at our present, and to use those two to think, what do we want our future to be? Part of that has to come through art and poetry, right? We can do history, we can share that, and I'm 100%, that's my life and my career as an historian, as a museum curator, but to be able to bring as many different people together to also share the common human experience is fundamentally a part of that. And so I'm grateful to you for the thanks that you've given us for the use of this space, but honestly, I say this every month, you give us a gift, and you give this community a gift of being able to gather us all together. So thank you, Pam, and thank you all for being here to share tonight.
So that was really important for me to have him do. One, because that's exactly what we like to have the portrait in, is it's, you know, providing a space for people to share. One, couple housekeeping things. The bathrooms are back in the corner. As you can tell, there's kind of an echo. So if you use the hand dryer, it'll be real loud, but we will know you washed your hands. So good job. If you take a phone call and you take it in the hallway, we're gonna hear your conversation. So, you know, if you have some treasures or something you don't want us to hear about, we're gonna hear that. So if you could silence your phones or quiet your beepers, not that anybody has beepers anymore, that would be helpful because it's a distraction. One of the reasons why I chose, when I first started doing this, I was doing it in coffee shops. And the thing about it was disturbing when people would yell out your coffee drink. And so now we're in a place where people come to listen. And so that's kind of how we know people come specifically to hear spoken word. So I usually start off with some poems, and then just to break the ice, and then if you signed up to read tonight, I just randomly pick you. If you still want to read tonight, you know, and you didn't sign up, just let me know. At a certain point, we'll cut it off so that Pidge has enough time to share with us this evening. So there's a nice little seat if you want to sit down and read, or whatever. All these things were donations to us, so it's really nice. The first piece I want to share with you is a favorite of mine, and some of my crew that's here have heard it before, but it's called Life and Its Complexity. A blind man's canvas does not stereotype in color. It absorbs each tone with a brushstroke, one after another, until it creates unity. Unity that comes with sincerity, a place for clarity and solidarity. Intertwined with grace, a different perspective of reality and race. And this race is so fast-paced, dreams have been shuffled into how I get my next hustle, while money has become the new international version of the gospel. My mama always said, everything that glitters ain't gold. And Lord knows why suicide resides in those that make people laugh for a living, while depression inside creates a lynching. Life and its complexity, truth and its infidelity, justice and its immorality, Christianity and its popularity, and peace. Peace has no amount of gratuity, but then there's love. The phantom in my opera, the beauty in my beast, who sings the sound of music only dream girls seek, while raising in the sun. I got smoke and thoughts, gunpowder on my lips, words like bullets to inject these lyrical rhymes into open minds, and anyone who might be spiritually inclined to hear me. The two most important times in life, the day you were born and the day you figured out why. At least that's what Mark Twain said. It made real good sense in my head, so why not share it? But at the end of the day, the sun will reach his hand out to the moon. Ocean's waves will dance to an orchestra's tune. Seashells will come ashore as the Sandman prepares to confess his love once more until she stays in life's complexity. And that's that piece. I had a list of stuff on here, but I'm not going to share that whole list. One poem that I just has been sitting, I have poems that are just sitting, and then, like this evening, I just finished this poem. And it's called Freedom is Still Not Free. I write a lot of justice poems, so. What can I tell you about Juneteenth that hasn't already been said? Maybe we can sit around the fireplace and tell stories about visions of sugar plums dancing in your head. Or maybe I can remind you how Juneteenth didn't set all of us free. Freedom still has not been given to all of my ancestry. You see, it wasn't really until December 6th, some history tellers were really bad at mathematics. Freedom is still not free when healthcare is not distributed equally. Freedom is still not free when your wealth was built off the forced labor of a person of color's family. Freedom is still not free when you continue to build wealth on the basis of Black athletic ability. Freedom is still not free when you want $1,400 for rent, but my mortgage you won't grant me. Freedom is not free when we don't know how class structures work. From womb to tomb, care does not stop at birth. Freedom is still not free when my Blackness still scares you and your moments of fear become bullets of impromptu. You see, there's power in unity, even when we agree to disagree. That's why we call it democracy. Freedom is not free until you see you in me. This last piece I'm going to do before I start bringing up our open mic session. A lot of times I love listening to other poets. That's why I love doing this, because it's inspiring. You all inspire me. And so I was listening to a poet that was talking about himself. And I was like, oh, I want to do that. So anyways, this poem is called Sweet as Honey. My government name is Pamela, but I go most times by Pam. I didn't know many Pams growing up, but the name Pam always seemed so, just a little bland. Like French fries without salt, or hot bread with no butter. There was something about the name that reminded me of Kool-Aid and no sugar. I was an only child with a big imagination. I used paper products, pens, and markers to make magic. Art was a resort of boredom's systematic character. In elementary school, my peers wanted me to learn how to fight. However, using my fist was like using my heart, similar in size. My first boyfriend wasn't until college, and I was afraid to tell my friends his family was from China, seemingly unimportant until they knew my cookie was wrapped up in his fortune. Don't read between the lines. I left college with a degree of financial ruin and joined the corporate circus, chasing the American dream instead of finding my purpose. A purpose that continues to unfold. The first mandatory class ever taken should have been loving yourself and to thine own self be true. I can fall asleep at the drop of a hat, a double life of working to pay bills and doing art for my mental health. Mental health, a revelation of how I care for myself, impacting how I think, feel, process, and cope when I'm overwhelmed. And guess what? I researched the name Pam. Meaningful or meaningless, I smiled when Sweet as Honey was what it read. All right, I'm gonna invite my friend Joe to join us. Please give him a round of applause.
Hi. A lot of people here. That's awesome. All right. I'll start off silly and get a little serious. It's gonna be my way of doing things. I've read this one before, but I think this is a fun one to do again. So, all right. This is called Such an Often Felt Faux Pas. I think rats are among some of the grossest creatures, right up there with spiders and the roaches. But I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the crazy going on before me. We're talking Ben Platt, but I've been thinking about trauma 4 hours ago. But I couldn't stop categorizing how dog barks make me sick. That is my form of suffering. Trials and tribulations, as my professor said. We put people into boxes. We put their traumas into smaller boxes. We name each of them Pokemon. Oh, your trauma's ghost type. We love that for you. We decide on the password for the box your ghost type trauma is locked into, Gengar Lover 68. We decide to open it only at your worst moments, when we think it fitting to open wounds and use our dark tap moves, including bite and solar eclipse. Don't you have anxiety about the world ending and everything you believed in not being true? And you're left alone on a street corner wondering if you're going to be abducted by a female vampire riding a skateboard. Do you wonder in black and white? Do you go shoe shopping in the middle of the day? Do you find bookstores appealing? Is ice cream really worth it? Rocky Road? That's your favorite type, right? Ice type ice cream? That's its little box that it finds itself in. That's trauma, but it's trauma for later. Right now I want to give myself a brain freeze while sandpaper tongues grind my eardrums apart. But I need to focus. Focus for just one moment. This one's called Closeted Destiny. At a loss for purpose, I dream of dolphins in hyperspace, upon a higher plane, while inside a matchbox of my own making, with 20 of my peers, all burnt out, wishing to burn once more. And there it is, the habitual blessed effigy of lighting myself on fire with my steward of patience beside me. I weep with oil and grease, while the mental illnesses in soft black robes with their pins, which tell each of them apart, light their remaining matches, throw into the wood of my own making, sticks of soulless hope and logs of doubtful faith. And then I've just been on a tear of sharing my poems that are called poetry. So this is the 5th iteration. This is Poetry Mark 5, after Emily Dickinson's 1523. We never say what we mean. We always say no and never what we know to be true in some way. We listen to the crowd and go, no, no way, when there is a way. We know there is a way. We know there are tiny paths that truth walks down, going to the left, almost never right. We lie, tease, and jest our conversations into oblivion and utter uselessness. We shut the fabricated windows to the questions hanging in the wind. They try the door, but to knock with no response is their fate. And following close behind is the wind and the rain falling righteous with its lightning bolts, zigzagging answers to the window panes. It is too easy. The curtains and rods are missing. We forget to blind ourselves, accost our eyes. We shall never see the truth. No, the answers written on the page. But we can hide no more. Thank you.
I forgot to mention that if you like what someone said, you can clap, you can snap, you can say ooh wee, I can say that again. All those things are welcome here in this space. So just so you know, clapping is great, snapping is great, however you want to honor the poet. All right, let's see. Debbie, come on up. Yeah, you.
So the three I have tonight are new ones, and they're all themed around, so this is where we're at. How do we be in this complicated world that we have, that we're inhabiting right now? And I know my own story. I never changed my mind because somebody came after me with arguments and harsh criticisms. So that's what I've tried to embody in these three poems. So the first one is called For Resistance. May you resist the temptation to become another version of what you are against. May you resist the temptation to employ tactics that merely escalate the vitriol and hate. May you resist the temptation to give in to bitterness and desperation. May you resist the temptation to project your expectations onto others as they follow their own moral compass. May you resist the temptation to yield to an imagination that employs insults and degradation. May you resist the temptation to withhold and abandon acts of loving kindness. May you recognize these acts of resistance as cornerstones that must not be rejected. May you resist the temptation to other others the way others have othered, because the only path forward is to follow the command of love. May you embrace a resistance characterized by humility, coupled with generosity. May you advance a gospel epitomized by self-sacrifice, measured by and held to the standard of the golden rule. That's For Resistance. And this one is called Your Life. May your life be a shelter for those deluged by storms too torrential to weather. May your life bear witness for those whose voices have been silenced. May your life be a banquet for the famished, whose pantries are barren, empty, depleted. May your life be a blanket, cozy and warm, for those who are stranded, shivering, naked, and cold. May your life be a vessel of friendship and connection for those who have suffered the loss of belonging and rejection. May your life cast a vision of hope for those in need of encouragement and inspiration. May your life illuminate the beauty in a world where the darkness feels overwhelming. And may your life be an anchor for those who are tossed about, adrift and untethered. May your life be a haven for those who are targets of systems that attempt to dehumanize and marginalize because they don't fit within the confines of those systems. And may your life be evidence of resurrection, a new and beautiful kingdom under heaven. And that's your life. And my last one is called Raindrops. Raindrops falling, melting, piercing, penetrating the blanket of snow. Washing, rinsing, cleansing, droplets that appear to be powerless, gently, slowly, delicately, imperceptibly, making a difference nonetheless, ushering in the awaited season of resurrection, one drop at a time. Thank you.
So behind on our logo, the Poetry Den, I have a statement that says, entice your ears, expand your thinking, and inspire your soul. My motto is to IPMC, which is inspire, provoke, and motivate to create. I think when I met Debbie, well, not when I met Debbie, but I saw on her Facebook page, she was sharing some words, and I was like, that sounds like poetry. You need to come to the Poetry Den. And I don't know that coming here has made you write more, but I sure hope it has. And that's kind of how I see a lot of people that come to share, is that they share for the first time, and then the next minute we have another featured artist. So this space kind of creates that. Next I'm gonna have EJ, my friend EJ. He was a part of, he made this actually for us, this stand. And he moved away on me, but now he's online with us. So give EJ a hand, please.
Hello, my friends. It's been a while. Yeah, thank you, Pam and George, for hosting again. I'm glad I could connect via Zoom. It's great. Hopefully, I can do this
Can't hear
each
you.
month.
Hang on.
Huh?
Hold on.
Can you hear me?
Try saying something, EJ?
I'll try to say a whole bunch of stuff.
All right.
Yeah.
Does that work?
Tell you what.
Are we
Yeah,
Are we
yeah.
live?
We'll go someone else. Let's see. Dan. Yeah. Yeah, Dan, come on up. You can share about your publication as well. So give Dan a hand, please.
I thought it was youth night tonight. Walking in,
You're part of it.
yeah. My head. Poems of political protest. I pray for your God is the name of this poem. I don't name a lot of poems, but this one's called I Pray for Your God. I pray your God remembers Jesus washed the feet of Judas and loved him. I pray your God remembers when I pray your God remembers Jesus died on the cross, salvation for all. I pray your God remembers the weak took down a giant and did not demand mineral rights. I pray your God remembers Jesus called the children to him, all of them. I pray your God remembers the B attitudes are a map and not a bingo card. I pray your God remembers you did not put oil on my head, you did not put oil on my head, but she perfumed my feet. Peace, love, and hope. I pray your God remembers to remind you love is the greatest commandment, to love each other as I love you. Poem of protest number 2 called Why Can't We All Be the Wind? Oh, this was written, I wasn't going to mention this, but since there's a class here, I'll mention it. Maybe I will. This poem, so I don't, like I was trying, I like when I'm writing poems sometimes, I try to follow a style because I don't want to do all free verse. It forces me to kind of be better. This is Sing Juan style. I get a confirmation from a teacher that I'm saying that right. It's in 22 syllables, 2-4-6-8-2. Why can't we all be the wind? It amazes me my sons can make pronouns meaning fold like origami. They allow people to fly in their worth, a kite from their tongue to the sky, steady itself, a bright yellow against a blue sky, rising to the sun, unforgettable. These are not poems of protest. This has been something I've been working on for a many long time. So they kind of poems of protest, I guess. And I swam in this pool. Actually, where we left up there, that's still when I was younger and realized for a while. But coming here. So this is called I Swam in This Pool. I was a YMCA swimmer taught not thrown off the pier. I was a wise swimmer. I swam in this pool. Mom thought swimming important, or maybe she thought I was dull and wanted soft edges to sharpen me, like the ocean polishes a stone. Or maybe she didn't like drowning. Much of our youth camp was spent camping on lakes and waterways. We did white things with white people. Not on purpose, I think. That's it. I swam in this pool too, and the intention is to have more of these. We, bare-chested, crowded in the small space, barely room to walk, the edges of the pool, blue tile, old, lights, few benches for spectators, a sign to swim freestyle, the boy next to me black. I swam without goggles. Start, dive, panic. I struggled. Why was I here? I lost my only race. The ride home uneventful. I wonder if the other boy won. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. You didn't mention your publication. I thought you would, but, all right.
It's your show.
That's my show. What I didn't point out earlier is that, they put, if you look at the carpet, they put the little waves in it. Now, I didn't notice this until like maybe a year ago. But it kind of mimics like water, like the pool used to be here. So if you notice that, I didn't notice. So, bad on me. Wayne, wait, we got AJ?
Try again. Say something, EJ.
I don't know. Does it work this time?
Man.
We good?
Sorry, EJ.
It's all right.
I can hear him in your mic.
Yeah, I know what the problem is. Sorry.
All right, you
Not
wanna?
quite live.
Bring up Wayne. I'm gonna need
Okay.
Yeah.
Wayne? That's your name?
Mocha latte. Your drink is ready.
All right, well, come get it then. This is Wayne, you guys. Show some love for him, please.
As I often do, it'll be two poems. And the first poem, I'm going to put a detailed disclaimer on it. And I'm going to have it notarized afterwards, my disclaimer. You remember Ted?
Yes.
In late December, he moved to Florida so we could be close to his son. And in early December, he sent me an email with a challenge. He said, Wayne, I'm going to give you the name of a song, and your assignment is to write a poem about it. So the origin of this poem is not Wayne, it is Ted.
Okay.
This poem is not a social action poem. It is not a social justice poem. It is not a racial justice poem. It's fun. We're going to have a little fun. Okay. George Gershwin wrote Biding My Time, and Ella Fitzgerald performed it. I'm not Ella Fitzgerald, but I'm going to perform it with contemporary words. When I was biding my time, I never made it to the line. But this time around I'll make it over the hump, 'cause I'll be playing my trump. Corpus verum. That's Latin, it means true body. Part 1, living seed. Grain by grain we pluck and save. The word which fell on paths or lodges with the thorns. For eating with the damage of thorns in midday drought, perhaps some life means. Our silver strands of prayer provide sufficient love to cross the gap toward heaven. And having come thus far, we hold a new desire to find the Word made flesh. Part 2, Bread of Life. Created Creator, who took on human flesh, tremendous lover, gave perfect sacrifice, and knows our every need, thus gives us bread and wine. Oh, this is more than word. This is the word contained in sacred, holy flesh. And this is more than flesh. It is the living God whom we consume each day.
And I think we're okay for EJ.
All right. One more time for Wayne. Thank you, Wayne. The guy Ted that he was mentioning used to drive from Kokomo to come to the porch again, and he donated this bench, and then I marked it with my logo and everything. So I miss Ted, and so you tell him that before I email him and tell him that. We good, EJ? Maybe?
Well, I don't know.
There we are!
Nuestra presentación comenzará.
All right.
Well, like I was trying to say before, I'm so glad to see everybody and hear poetry and miss you guys. Yeah, moved away, so it's great to link up with Zoom. Hopefully I can do this on the regular. It's interesting being on my own. I think this is the first time in my life that I have had my own place and my own pad and been able to live life as I want. I mean, even in college, I had roommates, and then through various relationships. I mean, even when I was single in the army, you still live in the barracks. You have 3 million roommates. So, moving down here is probably the first time I have been on my own, which has been eye-opening and very great. And so I wrote a poem about it. And it's just on my own. I'm now truly on my own. Thought this was what I wanted. There was no one else at home. Almost wish I was haunted. I get to make my own decisions. My opinions can dictate my decor. Choosing aesthetics with precision. Is that a spot on the floor? No one to tell me what to do. I'm responsible for decisions and not at fault. I can be responsible and be a man. It's time to grow up and adult. And that's on my own. The other day we had a really good thunderstorm pass through, and I was just enjoying the rain and the thunder. I was able to watch and see lightning strikes, and that was pretty fun. I remember watching them in Indiana, so but down here it's just a little bit different. So this one is just titled Thunderstorm. The clouds burst, darkened tonight, a crack of lightning, scorched earth. The sky gods send their anger. The wind drives it hither and thither. The storm of my heart unleashes. The mountains rock with weeping. Lakes and rivers froth with foamy teeth. And so, Mother Earth purges her anguish with shouts and tears. And that's Thunderstorm. Thanks, guys. One of my favorites. I have it here on the laptop. Let me pull it up. Okay. Um, every poet kind of has their favorite poems maybe that they write. This is one of mine, so you're gonna have to listen. Called "You Made It." Um, research papers and book. Oh, this is another big one for me because I'm in school now. So actually, this first verse makes a lot more sense for me. Research papers and book reports, spring break, groups projects, dean's list, exam week, gown and cap, degree earned. Congratulations, you made it. Weights, training, and aerobics. Sculpted your muscles and body, achieved gold medal, and won the contest. Congratulations, you made it. Practiced daily rituals, attended every sermon, and served charitably. Prayers, vigils, confirmed salvation. Congratulations, you made it. Long hours in the late shift. Volunteered overtime, leadership classes. Climb the corporate ladder, promotions, you're the boss. Congratulations, you made it. A tornado passes through the house. Children a mess, but fed, quiet now. Partners asleep, a long soak in the tub. Congratulations, you made it. A white knuckle grip on the steering wheel. Serenity prayer recited outside the bar. Headed home, kept day 2 sober. Congratulations, you made it. The loss of a loved one. The pain of memory still fresh. Condolent hugs and a new sunrise. Congratulations, you made it. It's not whether you achieve great heights or wade through the abyss. Success or failure, bend or break. Make a mistake or idle away. You've learned, you've grown, you've seen. Thank you for being here. Congratulations, you made it. But yeah, thanks for the time. I'm gonna try to get some folks down here to Zoom in as well, and maybe we'll get a small gathering going if I can talk them into it. So, love you guys. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, EJ. You look good, man. Glad things are going well. One more time for EJ, please. Gina. Oh, you didn't know I was gonna call you, did you? Please show Gina some love as she comes to the mic.
Hi, everybody. Hello. The longer I sat here, the longer I had to look through and figure out what I was gonna read because I didn't know, but, I kind of want to talk about fibromyalgia, so I just went through some things, mostly about awareness. Because, people who suffer with fibromyalgia go through this fight or flight. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but, so a lot of mine are titled fight or flight. Okay. I just to myself. Fight or flight. I fight, I run, always reluctant to pause. I try, I even deny. Fight, fighting for my life. I'm not free. I got this pain haunting me. Told myself I didn't care. Life keeps showing up, reminding me of the things that I want to forget. Attitudes being misconstrued, fight or flight. I'm fighting with the anger attached. I don't care. Bad attitudes, being rude, hate, sadness, anger, disappointment. The things we fight against ourselves mostly. Enslaved, endangered, lives in danger. We fight against weakness, darkness, spiritual forces unseen, out of control, fighting for control, fight of my life, fighting to live, fighting to stay alive, fighting to love, fight for love, fighting to be loved, fighting to achieve new heights, fighting to take flights to new heights, fights to be bigger, better, brighter, sights, flights, destinations unknown, Flights in life, these fights got my mind blown. Look at what's being shown. Devil, leave me alone. Fight or flight, taking flight, running for my life, ready to leave it all behind. Lay my burdens down. Yea, though I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. Thy rod and thy staff comfort me. In him I will trust, cast all my cares to the one who cares. I put it all in his hands. He holds the plans for my life. He'll never leave me nor forsake me. Agape love, unconditional love, peace, joy I found, fight or flight. So I'm gonna read a few shorts. This was just off of that poem. One day I read it. My poems are really, really long. So it's called Running for My Life. Running for my life, I'm running for my life, I said. I'm running from my life. Fight or flight, I'm tired of fighting to love and be loved. This is war. No one really knows the enemy fighting to take control. Hate boiling over, no one is safe outside of the will of God. The safest place is in his will. The world can't comprehend right now. They all tied up. So many superficial things, money, cars, and bling. She's still waiting on that ring. What does it all mean? Fight or flight, I gotta go. Mind, body, soul, pain in my body, trying to take control. Spirit gotta get right so I can take flight and live my best life. Fight or flight, the pain I feel is real, undeniably, no matter how many times I try to deny myself the right to vocalize my truth because the dispute with scientific truth. Fight or flight, years ago the doctor said it was all in my head, shit. I'm dead if I have to live to believe, but nah, I can't lie down to die. I did cry when I heard my fate. A new life I must face, fight or flight, manage healthcare system, systematically controlling my life, fight or flight, wishes it was all a bad dream, everything weighing down on me, weighted, overweight, overwhelmed, a new reality I discovered 2017, a routine life filled with seeing doctors in rooms, PT, OT, and speech specialists, doctors, specialists specializing, but what are they? They can't find a cure. Gotta love them though, because we need them. Without knowledge of self, we dying. I ain't lying. Inside, out, we gotta get cleaned out. Too much toxicity, life filled with too many toxins, just sick, but still saying love, fight or flight. Filling me up on meds, don't play with my head. I'm broken, but I can't be fixed. Confine me to a bed, mind blown, medicated, heartbroken, wish they all leave me alone. I feel alone, so much BS going on, I wanna be left alone, lies we tell ourselves. Confused about how I feel, one day up, the next I'm down, still gotta wear a smile, roller coaster ride, I'm all shook up, no pills please, mind, body, soul. So the first time I visited the poetry den, I wrote this poem, it's called Grown. My poems are real life. It's just been therapy for me with everything that's going on. I have teenage boys in this day and age. I don't know who can identify with that. There's something different in girls. Girls, I love them, relatable. But so this is mainly about my son that I wrote one day. Let me just look at my notes for this second. I can spell it. Tears, I can't find it. It's in my other phone. But thank you guys. If I have time after everyone reads, maybe out there, find Grown. Okay. Thank you. One more time for
Regina, thank you for coming again. Linda, come on up.
Mine are pretty short and pretty simple, okay? But before I start, I see all these high school kids, and I really want to say two things to you. My kids went to St. Joe, yeah! But the second thing I want to tell you, I see you and I see myself in you because when I was your age, I took creative writing and I fell in love with it. And then life got in the way. I went to college, I got an education, I worked full-time, I had children. I didn't write another poem. I thought all creativity had left me. 1 year ago, 40 years after I wrote my last poem, I started writing again. I just suddenly woke up after my parents passed with the urge to write. So I guess what I'm trying to tell you guys is, well, number one, I know sometimes you're afraid to get up here, and that's okay. As you get older, it gets a little easier. I'm still nervous, okay? But keep at it, but if you don't keep at it, don't tell yourself it'll never come back. It might. Okay, so nurture it. It might come back. So I'm sorry I took a minute for that.
No.
That was important for me to tell you. Last week, I did nature poems, and sometimes I like to do simple nature poems when I feel the world is stressful, because there's something about nature that gives me a little bit of peace. Okay, so these are just two one-page simple nature poems. What sandhill cranes teach me about hope. What a difference a day makes. Yesterday's news was of dead sandhill cranes succumbing to bird flu, just an hour's drive from my Indiana home. Is this how it starts to end? Maybe. And when we allow ourselves to believe it, despair sets in. But today is a new day. As I walk, I hear the cranes, not one, but many, maybe hundreds, singing a wild and guttural and warbling and thundering song. War, war. I wish I could roll my R's like that. They sing, gathering the nearby trees and fields, then fly in formation. Where to, I don't know. Their gray necks outstretched in front of them, their thin black legs outstretched behind them. If they can continue their work in this world, then so can I. They are a reminder that every day need not be a day of despairing what has gone wrong in this world. So I listen to their war, war, and I sing, wow, wow. And I let myself be amazed, and I let myself hope once again. That's the first. This one is called Swallowtail in Flight. The butterfly flits down the driveway ahead of me. I am lost in thought and don't pay attention to her. Then I see her the next day and the day after that. She is a swallowtail, black with sheens of iridescent blue and touches of rust. She is beautiful, and I finally stop to admire her. Hi, Mom, I blurt out, realizing the ridiculous of what I was saying. My mother said she'd never come back. But if she did, she jokingly said it would be as a bird. Well, a butterfly isn't so much of a stretch then, is it? Especially one that hangs around me every day on my walks. I slow down to watch her. She stops when I stop, sitting where the grass and gravel meet, her wings slowly moving back and forth. Finally, I move, and she takes flight. She flies a full 360 around me, her colorful wings in flurry of motion. Then she floats away. Come back, I say. And she does, the next day and the day after that. That's...
Can we thank Linda one more time? Also, I wanted to share with you all, the library downtown South Bend does an event called Spill the Ink. And I think, Wayne, you participated in that, didn't you? Yep. And you submit poems, and they're judged, and they have prizes. So if anybody's interested in submitting to that, if you go to St. Joe County Library, the one downtown, I'm sure there are events or something that will probably say Spill the Ink. It's called Spill the Ink. So you can, and it's open to all ages. So they have a little event, which I usually help host. And poems are, you can have somebody read your poem, or you can read your poem, but then they get judged, and again, there's prizes if you're interested. Adam, Come on down, Adam.
So Pam, I actually work at the library.
Oh, did I say anything wrong?
No, you said it all right. I was trying to see if we have a story up on our website that you can go to real quick. There is?
And I think the
Okay.
readings May 1st, I think.
That sounds right.
And I think the deadline might be April 7th, but I might be wrong. So you-
That sounds about right. That's not my area of expertise, but if you go to our website, you can look that up as well. I got a couple quick ones for you guys. This first one is called The Fascists Takeover. The fascists are taking over our country, or the communists. No, wait, it's Antifa, or the abolitionists. Perhaps the Bull Moose Party, or the Dems, or the Republicans. Whoever it is, they're ruining the greatest of our sons. This one is, I forget. I think I was maybe gonna room with a friend of mine who happened to be a girl, right? And my parents, who are quite conservative Christians, you'd think this was the worst thing I could have done. So this poem was about that. You'd think it was the most scandalous thing I could have said. The great family scandal of 2024. They once were proud of their perfect youngest, but not anymore. They send this update to old friends under their breath, asking for prayers for our youngest. He's not making the best decisions. And then this one was written back when Twitter was still bad, but not as bad as it is now. And it's called Tweets I'm Scared to Tweet. So there's two of them. I wonder if my parents have ever Googled if it's normal for their 24-year-old to still talk to his stuffed animals. And then the second, support local art, even if it's mediocre. Especially if it's mediocre. God, I hope one day I think of my art as more than mediocre.
Thank you, Adam, one more time. All right, we're gonna go online to my friend Lori. Maybe.
Hi, Pam. How are ya?
Hi, Lori.
Hey, everybody. How is it going?
Good.
All right. I know we've got a lot of people, so I will get going. I have one poem and 3 little mini poems beneath the one poem. And this takes place in the 70s, and this is called My Cousin's Childhood Dog. 1. Some memories are foggy, much like the stale smog of unfiltered smoke wafting through shag-carpeted hallways and living rooms like bluish-gray ghosts. It was the 70s, after all, but some memories are clearer and sweeter, like the memory of a dog. I didn't see her often enough growing up because she lived in Wisconsin, because we lived in Indiana. Her name, Queenie, a Brittany Spaniel, a kind face, floppy ears, and freckles. I loved her, and she loved me. 2. In preschool, on one of our visits, I escaped the boring grown-ups upstairs and my sibling and cousins downstairs. I went out into the yard to visit my Queenie. We gleefully rolled and played in what I thought was mud. Went back to hug my mother. She looked at me, smelled me, and screamed my father's name. John! Queenie and I were both quickly sprayed down like overheated hogs in August. Because of the zephyr of dung. I guess that's my Gen X version of living on hose water and neglect. 3. One more. I don't recall how long Queenie remained Earthside, as the grown-ups behaved worse than the children, and conflict kept us all away. I'm confident that Queenie and I will reunite again one day, hoping she knows that I love her, a Brittany Spaniel, a dog who was truly a queen. Thank you for holding space for me.
Is that it? Those are all of them? Yes.
Yeah.
All right. All right.
Yeah, that was the one that came out. I just wrote this tonight, and
Oh, look.
interesting what memories come out and what anger kind of comes out too. There's definitely healing in poetry.
I think she was done. I think she was just
Oh, look, see, you guys know better than me. Thank you, Lori. Gina, did you find anything else? You did? You want to come back up? Is there anyone else that wants to share any poetry tonight before we? Yes? Okay. We'll have Gina come up and then,
Hope this is the right one. It says 2023. I revised it, but I'm having a difficult time finding a new one. But grown. How you grown and can't make it on your own? No job, no money, no thoughts for the future. Grown. How you grown but can't make it on your own? What kind of grown can't make it alone? It's 2025. Grown looks a lot different nowadays. Grown still lives at home, don't pay bills, irresponsible, no accountability, and avoids responsibility at all costs. Is that grown or childlike? We can no longer ignore this pandemic effect of dishonor and disrespect. Take notice, look around, simply open your ears. Casual conversations amongst the youth peer to peer is disgraceful to hear. The amount of public disrespect on any given day, they give no F's about what they say. In front of who don't matter. Is this the new norm and no one has anything to say? When did the ability to use cuss words signify that you're grown? This is all wrong. Speechless, beyond disbelief, no one cares, no sign of relief. You see, back in my days, when a kid thought they was grown, they left home. Sometimes respectfully, and others not so respectfully. Nonetheless, they knew when they could no longer live by the rules that restricted their moves, OUT, they was out. Grown back then set out with every intention to make it on their own and never go back home. That was grown back in my days. Nowadays, grown is the kids who still live at home, sucking on their mama titty. Now that's a pity. They even have the nerve to be musty, shitty, smart mouth, and sedity. This might sound funny, but I'm just telling the truth with more than just a comic point of view. So I guess you can say I'm just shining a light on how this generation thinks. They think they're grown because of the wealth of information that flows freely on the internet and social media. The fact that they still live at home, displaying daily in habit the need for instructions on what to do and not to do. Grown, little imitators of life, bloodsuckers, sucking up all the resources necessary for life. Food, water, electricity, shelter, they have no real clues, they have no real clues. Shelter. Some of these kids ain't never really went through much, but got so much to be anxious, scared, angry, and disrespectful about. Grown kids can't see the value of a good parent because of their worldly desires of the flesh, things they want selfishly. Grown, entitled, entitlement, giving too much for all the wrong reasons. Grown babies don't want to listen to their parents. Mouth so foul, their thoughts are beyond us. They cuss. Speech filled with so much disgust. I mean, they talk a lot of shit, but mostly behind our backs. They think they're smart, refuse to play their part, always acting like they got heart until the time comes when they're faced with a problem only an adult can solve. No comprehension to real life, unable to solve life's smallest problems, ready for the world but not equipped with the answers, always looking for a bailout. When trouble come, they ready to run, but run to who? Get caught still holding a gun? Check this out. You can't be a child and an adult too. It would never work. You gotta pick one or the other. Being a grown-up and adulting is no easy task, especially without guidance. Slow down, get direction, appreciate your parents' love and affection. Growing up too fast will lead you on a path of self-destruction and depression. Grown.
I'm guessing this is a real loving mother right here. I raised a son too, and so I'm really partial to son, and my son is expecting a son, so. One thing I do remember when you were reading that was like, my son had turned, I don't know, 16, 17, and he wanted a car. And I was like, just be patient, because once you get the car, you're gonna want some music in the car and all these other things. And you gotta get oil change and plates and all that stuff. No, I want a car. Got that car, I think it broke down like the first month. I was like, well, you gotta figure out how to fix it. But anyways, live and learn, right? So, come here. Kylie, please welcome Kylie to the mic.
I'm one of the millions of high schoolers that are here tonight for our English class. And I just so happened to have my poem on my phone, and I felt like I should probably practice it because I have to say it for a grade on Wednesday. This poem is called In a Perfect World. In a perfect world, the sky is always blue, and the grass is always green and soft under your feet. The sun always keeps you warm, but not hot. In a perfect world, no one hates the beach, because the sand is always smooth and cool under your feet, between your toes. But it'll never stick to your skin, get under your fingernails, in your hair. You won't reach into that gallon Ziploc bag of goldfish that your mom packed and end up with crunchy teeth. In a perfect world, writers don't need rough drafts, artists don't need erasers, musicians don't need practice rooms, choirs don't need directors, dancers don't need rehearsals that go from 10 to 4. In a perfect world, power school is useless and your grades don't define you. Your grades don't define you. In a perfect world, a girl can ask another for a tampon and not feel like they're sealing like a drug deal. In a perfect world, that time of the month and my cycle didn't replace period. Because boys, believe it or not, women bleed out of their vagina once a month, and we shouldn't have to make up phrases or code names or words for this beautiful fact of life because we feel too awkward to say it around you. We shouldn't have to ask to go to the bathroom every hour just to check because it's disgusting to bleed through. It wouldn't be if someone would let us know. Red and khaki are very different colors, so don't tell me you didn't see. In a perfect world, I wouldn't be afraid to say that I listened to Taylor Swift, Sabrina Carpenter, and Olivia Rodrigo. I wouldn't have to be told to burn in hell because of the music that I like. I wouldn't hesitate to recommend songs to my friends because I'm afraid that their noses will wrinkle, the lips will twist, and they'll say, that's a Taylor Swift song, isn't it? In a perfect world, I would have watched Mean Girls and the first time and related to Caddy. But in reality, I related to Regina George. Not because I wanted to be worshipped and loved by everyone, or to have a hot mom, or big boobs, or clear skin, or blonde hair, but because I felt like the only way I could belong is to be on top. Because I'm so insecure that I felt like I need to be in control of others' insecurities. Like I can flip open my super secret journal and say, yep, Emma's gonna be insecure about how long her legs are today. In a perfect world, I wouldn't have skin as a prissy little bitch when it comes to meeting new friends. I'll come home with false hope, the Walmart bag that's heavy with new host of acne promise in my hand. Stupidly, I put all of them on. Too excited that maybe just maybe this one will work. I'll wake up in the morning looking like I got up close and personal with the stage at a strip club. My neck covered with someone else's love. Not that dino love that we heard a poem about before. This love is aggressive. It's toxic. Like that possessive boyfriend that just won't leave you alone. Like Hercules and his 12 trials, I'm fighting so hard I'll break, and there's a hell of a lot more than 12 of them. In a perfect world, I wouldn't be confessing this in a poem. Wouldn't be standing before you, reading this carefully practiced verse. In a perfect world, I wouldn't be so emotional. I'd be able to brush things off, to drop a topic like I'm dropping a hot coal. In a perfect world, I wouldn't laugh at serious things, wouldn't be able to look in the mirror and see the permanent indent on my bottom lip shaped like 2 large front teeth. In a perfect world, words wouldn't hit me so hard, cut so deeply and jaggedly that I'm not sure if they'll ever heal. In a perfect world, I wouldn't give myself so completely. I'd be able to walk away from a relationship that's hurting me. I wouldn't feel like I have to answer your text immediately. I wouldn't fear rejection, even though lonely and alone are on different pages of the dictionary. My brain gets them confused. In a perfect world, I don't feel like I'm being used by my friends, even though they're the only ones that I trust to be with me at the end of it all. In the perfect world, I wouldn't have to control my mouth, because sometimes you need to say shit instead of crap. In a perfect world, women wouldn't walk the streets in fear, sliding their keys between their fingers like some kind of rudimentary Wolverine. Women wouldn't see a boy walking towards them on the street and cross to the other side, chin held high like some kind of queen, even though the beast of fear is screeching and clawing at their insides, because what if that boy is a murderer? What if he's a rapist? What if he's coming to kidnap you and take you to a warehouse where he's already got all of your friends tied to chairs to be his personal entertainment? What if he's a dad? What if he just had a bad day and was looking for a friendly face? What if? And maybe now you realize that I use boy instead of man. And maybe you think it's just out of some immature elementary school boys have cooties mindset. But the real reason is quite simple. A real man wouldn't make a woman wonder. In a perfect world, I don't have to go to school as normal one day and then get gunned down like a dog the next. In a perfect world, no one would have to receive a flag folded in a triangle at the front doorstep. Nobody's ever heard of counseling, or therapist, or self-help. In a perfect world, nobody feels so far down that they think they have no way out except off that cliff, into that muzzle, in that bottle of pills. In the streams of blood that'll run down their arms like divine mercy. Thank God I don't live in a perfect world.
That was amazing. Thank you. One more time for her, please. So at the Poetry Den, we have a little clause that says, we invite 16 and up, and that's because we feel like probably by 16 and probably earlier, you've heard some big words before. But all of these events that we do, they're recorded, and so we want to make sure that we have permission, because we do have minors here, if those can be posted. So if that's a problem, we can make sure that that doesn't go up. So we always want to ask our feature definitely the same question, because sometimes what people share is very intimate, and so we want to make sure that we're not sharing that stuff in a place that we're saying is safe. So again, we use pictures. I did take a picture, but I took a picture of the back of you all, so you don't have to say, be ashamed that you were here or something like that. I don't think that'll happen. But I think we're going to start with that, unless there's anybody else. I think we're going to introduce our featured artist. First, again, amazing that you brought this many people out. Thank you, teacher. She warned me, and I was like, no, she probably talking about like 10 people, And I was like, yeah, probably should have paid more attention. But thank you to your teacher. Are you the teacher of all of them, or just some of them?
I do teach all of them.
Okay. Thank you for coming out and sharing this evening with us. So Pidge is a 17-year-old from Michigan who has recently moved into South Bend. She's won 3 Silver Keys for Scholastic and has been writing since she was little. Pidge only just got into poetry a few years ago, but she has loved it and will be continuing with it in college, where she wants to be an English teacher. She wants to be a teacher. Ooh, you gotta have some love when you want to be a teacher. She loves to write about her life, but also write about topics that elicit emotion in her. She thanks you all so much for coming and for listening, being willing to listen to her. I heard Pidge for the first time, and I was like, ooh, man, that's amazing. I gotta get her as a featured artist. So I'm glad that she was willing to do this tonight. And so I present to some and introduce to others. Pidge, come on up. Please give her a round of applause.
First of all, it is 7:21. I know y'all got poems in closer's class. Y'all got poems you're writing. Okay. First of all, thank you all for being here. I did not expect this many people, and she was right. I did text her and told her, I was like, fair warning, people are coming. And then I saw you guys get more chairs up, and I was like, oh God. But I want to start off by thanking a couple people before I get into my poems. First of all, I want to thank my lovely mother for sitting through all of my poetry sessions and like calming me down for this because I've been really anxious.
His mom?
No, that's my mom in the back.
Oh, okay.
That's my mom. And then I want to thank Mrs. Closer, my 9th grade English honors teacher, for getting me into this and like really introducing me to poetry. Because when I first got into poetry, I was like, that's a bunch of like old people wrote that. Like, why do I need to read that? Like, that's weird. And so I thank her so much for introducing me to this and getting me here. And like literally, I don't think I would be here without her. And then I lastly want to thank my lovely poetry pal who cannot be here tonight because she is sick. But Mary Maher is literally one of the reasons I do this, and I do not think that I would have come here and be this excited for this if she did not be around. And so that special thanks goes out to her because I love her so much. But I will get right into my first poem. So this first one won a Silver Key, and it is called Asking for Explanation. Do you know me? Have you taken the time to learn my mind, traveled my paths inside and out, gone down the void, crawling your way out? Have you learned how I spend the time between rise and fall, how I dance when I'm alone and sing in the shower till nightfall? Have you been there for the endless night when reality shifts, when being low is just as bad as being high? Do you see me like how she sees me, with the flaws, scars and all, with calloused hands too used to grabbing you before you fall? Empty eyes that somehow return to full, curiosity overflows. Do you know my friends? The ones who make me feel like the sky touching the clouds and proving the impossibility of never having to leave my home. Do you know my love? The constant emotion that doesn't falter unless you hurt me, the countless hours that I have put into just seeing you smile at me. Do you think I'm pretty with my too big mind and my small hands grabbing at the world like it was made for me? Do you know me, the child you made, the one who looks like you, who shares the interests, the daughter who tried so hard to show that I love you? Do you know me, or the teenager that is stubborn in all the wrong places, the one whose mirror knows all her insecurities and her pillow knows how hard she cries for you? Please answer, and I expect your apology to me in triplicate when you prove that you can see me. Also, I'm going to shout out my mom for a second because she sent out my little invitation thing to so many people. And so there's like 4 people up there that are for me, which I thank them all for being here personally, even though they're miles and miles away. This second one is based off of a sentence my sister said, which was, how do you grieve someone who is still alive? Because everyone talks about grieving people who are dead and giving them flowers and like going to funerals and everything. And so I thought this one was really powerful. Like, how do you grieve someone who is still alive? And so this one is titled How to Grieve Someone Who is Still Alive. 1, accept the fact that they are still alive, that they won't die, or probably won't, and their presence still feels mandatory for every soccer game, musical, and moment. 2, get over the fact that they aren't coming back. People change for better or worse, so get over it. They aren't coming back. 3, host a funeral, one in which you burn their shit and pray to the fire spirits for a better life. And as my mom says, you do not fuck with the fire spirits. 4, let the memories wash over you like a tsunami of emotions, crashing wave, a waterfall, where you do more falling than watering. 5, see them in public, because they are still alive, and half the time they don't move to accommodate your emotions, so you'll see them in what feels like the most random places, but in truth, they are the most normal. 6, plot revenge you never actually want to commit. Plan a robbery or a murder, your anger knows better than anyone how easy it is to dream. So plot, but don't act. Jail doesn't come for those who dream. 7, move on. Sounds easy, doesn't it? In a physical sense, you could literally move, but we don't pack up our lives to forget about our past. We pack up our emotions because they don't provide any more heart attacks. 8, learn what it means to live, without them and with the memory of them. The moments you shared that were good, and maybe that were bad, they don't exist within your walls anymore, and more than one friend probably told you that it's okay to live without them. 9, forgive. Not because you want to, but because you should. Whatever they did, how evil or how peaceful, forgive. Not because you want to, but because we should always forgive those who do not understand how much their actions hurt us. Sounds fucked up, I know. 10, accept the fact that that you are grieving, and they might not be. Whoever they were to you, they might have never loved you. So accept it or don't. Who am I to say what you should or shouldn't do? For all I know, they are just living their life too. Okay, so this next one is a little bit longer. I won a silver key for this one as well, from Scholastic. And this one is called Teenage Culture. And I wrote it in response to a bunch of people saying like, oh, Gen Z is one of the worst cultures, like why do you, like Gen Z is gonna be the downfall of us, like I don't support Gen Z and their weird slang and terms and all of that. So I wrote this one in response to that. Teenage culture is the definition of we're not okay. Popping pimples and changing looks, be real and TikTok as we try to form some type of connection with the kid next door. Hours on makeup and minutes on sex as we get wrapped up in our own smoke, rising to the sun from our weed-filled vapes. People tell us that they expect better from this teenage culture when we were raised by the internet where Wattpad was our annoying older brother, Reddit was our neighbor, and TikTok was the cousin we never had. Looking at pictures of the skinniest of girls and the strongest of men, dividing ourselves into perfect versus everything else. Our definition of love was the eyes of boys undressing girls in our high school hallways. Skipping became the new hobby, and covering our bodies was the quickest way to isolation. Showing off to the world was how you got a raise in this stupid pay grade world of we aren't going to college turned into you're not getting into college. We are blamed for the teenage culture, yet we were raised by the lost cultures of people before Gen Z was born into a world where the fire had gone out. And we were told to pick up the pieces of a life we never knew. Told we had the privilege to have the world at our fingertips, but what privilege did we have when we paid for love and affection with blood, sweat, and tears of the children before us? We carry our crosses and no one is around to help, because to hell with Jesus and his Father. Where were our fathers when we needed them? Why look to the metaphorical when it takes an X and a Y to show why we were created? Our teenage culture is built on fear and intelligence, a world so broken that the pieces of this messed up puzzle are already 6 feet under, taunting us and teasing us as we follow their path, headed to the grave that we dug years before we were born, when the fate of the world didn't rest in our unknowing hands, disappointment being the only caretaker we know, A's and B's being the only letters that matter in this stupid teenage culture, where our lives didn't ever seem to matter, simply more bodies for the economy to destroy in factories, where we make more of ourselves useless bodies of technologies, performing for anyone but ourselves. This teenage culture is built on hopeless dreams and empty pockets, our dreams seem like rockets, shooting for the moon and never landing among the stars. Teenage culture began the minute an iPad or phone was thrust into our fingertips. They never should have been there. The internet, our babysitter, a teenage culture full of walking corpses, waiting to join our fellow soldiers on the front lines of a war we never started. There's that one. Thank you. Sorry, I gotta take a breath. I'm so nervous about this even though I'm up here already. Yeah, thank you. As Pam said, I am 17. I turned 18 later this year. My mom could attest to this. I started writing when I was really little. Like a lot of really weird stories about like fairies and probably other things, but mostly fairies. And so just doing this is amazing to me. And again, I thank you all for coming. And then this next one, actually, I wrote during closures class, which I don't think she realized this. But this was for an assignment for her that I don't remember the grade I got on it, but we had to include a snippet of another poem in our poem. So this one is called, How Do You Measure a Life? How do you measure a life? In the years they have lived or the time they have spent? How many houses they've owned or how many people they've met? Not quite. We measure a life by the story they make, the tales they tell and the memories they make. We measure a single life by the simple question of would they die and choose to live this life again? Keep the memories and the friends or switch it up and try again. Travel a different path and not look back. My God, how lucky to have lived a life I would die for with my feet in the sand and people I'd cry for. We measure a life by showing we care, by the miles we've walked and the scars we bear, not giving up or walking away. Would you measure your life in the same way? Okay, I have, I think 3 left, 3 or 4. And it's only 7:33. Oh my gosh. Okay. So this next one, I know we've been doing a bunch of poems about like empowerment and racial injustice. And so this one is about women empowerment and like not really standing up for myself, but like standing up for being a woman despite the fact that I don't view myself as a woman. I am gender fluid and that's how I view myself. But it's just about growing up in this body and like having to be a girl and those stereotypes. So this was called It's Not Fair. You talk about fair like it's a game, like it's a prize to be won. It's not fair. You talk about fair like you've been chewing on a silver spoon, taking bites from the hand that feeds. It's not fair. You talk about fair like your skin as white as snow and golden curls rest on your head. It's not fair. You talk about fair like she's your goddess. You live in her world talking about how you can't live in a world that isn't fair. It's not fair. Who are you to talk about what's fair when your mama didn't teach you how to hold a key between your fingers? Who are you to talk about fair when you're the one doing the catcalling? When you're the reason we carry pepper spray? When you're the reason we have to say no? When we have to scream fire instead of rape because we'll get more attention that way? It's not fair. You complain like a toddler who lost his ball. You complain like a boy who hasn't had to shave his legs at all. You complain like a man who, when a girl said no, you kept going despite the fact that consent can be given and taken away. It's not fair. Who are you to talk about fair when it's our world and we all live in it? The world doesn't revolve around you and sweetheart, so don't talk about fair like you know her name, like you know her story, like you know what it's like to wake up with blood between your legs, because you don't. And you can say, it's not fair as much as you like. But honey, we all stopped listening. I wrote that one like 3 days ago. So yeah, it was wild and I like it. And one of my friends can attest to this, that I wrote it in the middle of class. because, you know, why focus on class when poetry is obviously more important? Okay, this next one is also a little bit longer, and it really honors my Grandma Penny, who I am named after. So I go by Pidge, but my full name is Penelope. And so when I was younger, I went by Penny, which is what people called her, even though her name was Patricia. And so we share the name Penny. And her piano lives in our house now. And I've learned to play it. My mom grew up playing piano. And so this one is for her. And I never got to meet her. So I felt like I needed to honor her in some way. So this one is called Pianos for the Pianoless. And it also won a silver key. Okay. I wish to put a piano in every home, not because of the instrument, but because of the size. A piano is a snotty teenager. It needs its own room and its own chair. A piano needs its own keys and definitely time to itself. But then again, a piano is also a soft old man waiting to tell you his story, patient and soft. Keys in his hand and his bench always welcoming, never yelling or swearing. Telling soft jokes and slipping a candy into each hand of the heart he reaches. So I wish to put a piano in every home, not because of the instrument, but because of the music. It could be elegant or cold for Elise or the Beatles, a silly old piano man, or rock and roll by Billy Joel. A single note is reminding that by itself it is nothing, but pair it with a C, and you have a string, continue to add, and you have a conversation. One's the end with a swish, a flick of the wrist. So I wish to put a piano in every home. Not because of the instrument, but because of the soul. Each key carries a story, each bench tells a tale. A foot pedal not for a car, but for changing the tune or the speed in which a story goes. Each note is a voice ranging from 2 to 103. A piano does not need to be new or to be old, to be tuned or to be clean. It just needs to play. Whether to be a raspy old woman who smokes a pack a day or to be a fresh young man whose slicked back hair stays that way as he plays. Because no one is similar except for the instrument they play. So I wish to put a piano in home because of the instrument in which it plays, more than just hitting keys, each note as on, showing how a life can change. So I will put a piano in the biggest room possible with the most echo and as many windows, so that maybe as a single mom walks by, or two lovers, or maybe the businessman who works on the corner, they will hear my tale and purchase a piano to continue the sad story of a bench without a player and a key without a home, because maybe, just maybe, it will reach the alone.
Wow.
This next one is called Silence. And I wrote it, I think, around midnight, one random night, and I was like, I cannot do anything. I can't fall asleep right now, and I need to write something. So this is what I wrote. It's called Silence. The silence isn't deafening, it isn't loud to me. Silence to me makes known what we can't see. Shows us the smallest of sound waves of laughing sea, instead of a raging storm like usually. Silence reminds us of how loud our noise is, our speech and our reach forever trying to touch the horizon, our dreams spanning much farther than that. Yes, silence pulls us back, ropes us in a hug, fills our lungs with the familiar scent of hopes and dreams. Because for me, silence is not deafening, it is eye-opening. A shower and a teller, a kindergartner producing its latest treasure, a deep quiet, a gentle sigh, the tap of my fingers as I write this line, my easy breathing as the silence takes over. I had all of my previous poems out on a doc, and then now I don't, so it's like, but I was going to read for my final poem, the poem that me and my friend Mary, who I was talking about earlier, wrote together, which is called Twin Skies. And we actually wrote that for closers class. And she can attest to this. Poems are supposed to be between, 3 to 4 minutes long for your guys' class. And she had to allot like a 6-minute time period for us, because ours was really long. But Mem is not here tonight. But I love that poem. I remember the first time we came, we read that poem, and it makes me very happy. And that one was about our depression and how people view us as like darker than we are because they see our depression before they see our personalities. Let me find one. Because I want to read one more, and I have a lot. And I just need to see what I have because they're all over the place. I will read this one. I can spell it correctly. This one is called The Wanting, and it's about like crushes and love and growing up not attracted to guys. And I am not. So this one is called The Wanting. You don't realize the want until you've been wanting for as long as I have. It's like a crush, but worse. Instead, you love the idea of someone and not the physical person. You love the idea of being loved, but don't know the feeling. People always asked why I was alone when I had all these options. Being gay opened more doors than I did by my own hand, leading me astray from a path I never wanted to follow. Showing me that girls are really pretty and guys are just kind of weird. Some in a good way and others in a leave me the fuck alone way. Love was never easy, at least not as easy as it was for my friends. They seemed content with themselves, never needing another to call their own. That, or they had people jumping at the chance to get their hand, leading them down a waterfall just for their love. I never understood why love for me was so much harder than diamonds. Like the love I wanted, the love I needed was just another myth that I had studied for days on end. Because it didn't matter how much I wanted it, how long I had wished, or how much I had pleaded, people just told me that maybe it just isn't in the cards. Then I found out that someone removed the love card entirely. It never seemed plausible for someone like me to love someone like her or him or them, whichever way I went down the path astray. It never led to anyone that wanted me. Some say it wasn't my fault, others stopped listening to my constant rants of wanting. So I suppose here I stand, wondering where the hell I'll be when I finally meet the one for me. That's it.
All right. That was just as amazing as I thought it was going to be. Thank you, Mom, for having Pidge join us. The one thing that I really love about poetry is that you hear people's experiences and their perspectives differently. You just do. And I heard a lot of that. I heard a lot of that in our younger people and our moms. That you just hear things differently than someone just telling you. And so I know that Pidge has come. If any of you want to come and share the poetry, you're welcome to. There's so much that goes on here. Some of you guys that have been here the longest, you know we get some of everything here. Young, younger, older. So you're welcome here. That's what I'm trying to say. So I'm so glad that you all took the time to come out on a Sunday when I know school is tomorrow, I think, or spring break. No? Spring break is over. School. Oh, I'm sorry. Couldn't wish that on you. When did your spring break? Is it over? 2 weeks? 2 weeks? It's time to get out of school by then, wouldn't it? I work for a university. I work for Notre Dame, and so our spring break was a couple weeks ago. So, anyways, but I'm so glad you came out. Thank you for inviting your class, Pidge. Thank you for, man, showing out. This is what this is what it's supposed to be like. Thank you for all of you that joined us online. We have a Facebook page. For those of you that are still looking at Facebook, it's called The Poetry Den. Literally, if you Googled it, the first 10 things will pop up on there. We have an Instagram, which is at Poetry in 2012, which is the year that we started. But you can follow us on there for monthly events. I like to publicize other poetry events that are happening, so you can, if someone gives me the information, I'm more than willing to share that. But again, I appreciate you all coming. My name is Pam Blair. Congratulate Pidge for tonight. Thank you for being vulnerable and coming up. You did an amazing job, all of you all. To stand up in front of here is not easy to do, but you did it, and I'm so glad that you did. So, thank you again. We'll see you next time.